error. So
do you need to record it?
No, it's recording on my phone, but my it's not open. The Zoom has stopped opening on my computer. So there we go. Okay, let's go. Okay, so I think that these, just as I was talking to somebody this morning, we're saying, even Manchester tonight are going to have a Zoom in the Manchester seat with Rabbanet Mizrahi. So Baruch Hashem, there are about 40 ladies coming together there. And it's, it's one of those things you just say, what's happened to our world today? And where people used to, there was a time where people didn't have access, so there's the good and the bad and the everything that goes with us, but where we didn't really have access to people and learning and all the things the way we do it, which is absolutely amazing that we can do this. But then there are the things where it has become more challenging when we bring people in and people come, because people are now so used to, they never got to see people. Now everybody's seeing everybody on Zoom, on all these different forums and different places that we get to. And that is the space where we're at right now. So we are going to have a look today again and continue with the idea of what it means in free will and how do we actually perfect ourselves. And it's an interesting process, but I think that the process comes even in times like now, in that challenging space of like, oh my gosh, my computer's not connecting. This isn't happening. Like, why doesn't it should just flow? This morning has already been, Baruch Hashem, a very busy morning. And then you've got to get hold of the hall and the setup. And by the time you look at all the things, you think, really? It's like, how do we actually navigate and get all these things done? But this is where we are. And in between that, we still have to be very nice and very kind. And I think sometimes that becomes the thing like, really, that's what you really want from me? Okay, we're going to do our best. And Hashem and all the buttons and all the different things of our place, like who we are, where we're from, come to this space of saying how we're going to do this. And I think that the world that we're living in today is becoming actually even more challenging on our middas because of the expectation of everything happening in such a quick way. But the beautiful thing for me right now in the recognizing of the greatness of what takes place and what's happened, and really what's going on in our world, and looking at the miracles and living in the month of Kislev and living through the month of Kislev. And I think that if we do live through the month of Kislev with every single day, finding ourselves with another miracle, reminding ourselves, what's the miracle of today? What is my miracle today? What happened that was miraculous today? How is this miracle affecting my life? And I guess that even last night I was at Sheva Brachas, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, like, really, and was in someone's house, it was in a restaurant, and was actually all very nice and everything. I'm thinking to myself, how does this actually happen? You've got a place of different cultures meeting, of all different people being together, of all the different things that are happening in the world, and you're all there in the same space. We're all there in the same place, and it's the mixing of cultures and looking at the parents of both sides and sets and thinking, how did this couple get together? How did they meet? And how did Hashem send all these different things? And that's really where we are and what we are really doing. So when we have free will, our free will becomes a place of choice at every moment of our day. And when we see where we are today as where we were last week, and I'm not only talking personally, I'm talking about our personal position and place in the world, and recognizing right now, it is insane to imagine where the world was and the difference that's happened and what's taken place in the world over the last week. And in fact, it was really only over a Shabbos and a Motzei Shabbos that an entire country was thrown into more turmoil than we could imagine what that turmoil is. And What do we worry about? How is this going to affect the Jewish people? How does this affect Klal Yisrael? What does it mean, and what does it do for us? And how are we still supposed to be in a place of? And I was thinking that even with this, the miracles of what is taking place is similar to the miracles that happen all over the world. Sorry, 1 second. Maybe there's something that I can do. A message just came through. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay. So what that connection is that we see Hashem can move and do whatever he wants at any time. We've had the overturning of a regime of 40 years of people that have been literally, it's actually horrific and horrendous. Good morning, Claire. To imagine, Claire, are you going to get to come and join us tomorrow in Golders Green at Rebbetzen, at Rabbanit Mizrahi? You're muted.
Yes. That's in the morning, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm supposed to be meeting a friend.
No stress. It would just be gorgeous for you to be there.
Thank
maybe surprise your friend. Tell her you'll come. They've got yummy croissants.
Okay.
I heard what they've ordered on the menu, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you can't actually go because of the croissants and the cheese muffins and all the different things. But you can decide. Otherwise, tell her to meet you at Bread afterwards. It's on the corner.
Okay, thank you.
I would love to see you. So what we see is that with this overturning, even of the Assad regime, we sort of like saying, hang on a second, we're getting rid of one evil, and we don't know what the next evil is going to be. The difference is that what our tiny, tinsy, gorgeous little place has actually done, what has it done for us, right? Hashem has made this huge miracle. You just have to look at what goes on in the world. You just have to look at where we are and see that this tinsy little place, tiny, tiny little place, Israel, is fighting this huge world. And the only reason, and they'll tell you that the reason, good morning, Manchester, the reason that this is actually managed to happen in Syria is only because of the Israelis, because of our beautiful Jewish nation. And we do say, at what price is it going to be? Because the pain and the loss of every soldier. But we know that that is a reality of war. And this morning, yesterday, my dear friend Shelley had sent me a video clip, which I haven't yet watched, about how this Bayit B'Kol Bayit, having our picture of the Beis HaMikdash in every home, came through and has come to every country through literally this beautiful woman who expressed over a blog the expression that about her son. And I mean, if you think about it, it is insane that one person, a mother of a soldier they don't know where he is at the time, reads a message of a mother of a soldier who talks about her son wanting to have a Beit HaMikdash in their home. And it becomes a conversation with friends and family. And that in turn becomes something. And we get a picture of the Beis HaMikdash. And they start just printing blocks because why? We'll give them out. We'll sell them for £5, like 18 shekels, So let people buy them and just have it. Why are you doing that? Because it's a unity. It's a uniting factor to say what we want. What do we want? We want peace. We want to live in a place of the time of the Beis HaMikdash. We don't want war. We don't want to lose more soldiers. And we won't have that in the time of the Beis HaMikdash. So we're going to have this beautiful, beautiful space of real understanding of what shalom and peace really are. And we're going to make that happen. And how are we going to make that happen? By reminding ourselves each and every moment of the day to remind ourselves what it is that we want. That we want the shalom. We want the peace. We want to be able to bring everybody together and say, who are we, how are we, and how are we going to do this? And today, literally all over the world, you've got pictures of the Beis HaMikdash in people's homes because they saw, they heard, and it's in the zechus of a beautiful neshama that left this world fighting for his country and fighting for us. And we wouldn't imagine. So the nechama, the comfort that a mother can have saying, I know what I've lost. This is me at my Akedah Yitzchak. This is Hashem testing me of giving a sacrifice of a child. But look what's come from that sacrifice. It is incredible. And the pain, and that's the light that brings the pain. And that's the thing that we all want. And that's what we want to be able to have when we understand, that we can bring so much good into the world through pain, and adversity strengthens us. And as Jews, which is incredible, because somebody was saying to me, they watched a blog about how there were 30 mezuzahs on Columbia University that were torn down. And Chabad went in, and how many did they replace new mezuzahs on how many kids' doors? There weren't the 30 kids that wanted their doors, their mezuzahs put up. There were 100 kids that said, we want one, we want one, we want one. Because now they want to identify. Why do they want to identify? Because they want to get rid of us. But you know what the best thing of the whole thing is? It's all written in the Torah for us. This is all we're living out. We're living out the prophecy of what the Torah has told us is going to happen. And before Mashiach comes, we're going to go through all of this. But we're going to get rid first of evil. We're going to get rid of evil. And what are we seeing taking place? Our tiny little army, the Maccabees, our tiny little Jewish army are overthrowing. And our tiny little Jewish armies are getting rid of evil. And we're cleaning it out from under the ground. We're totally cleaning it out. Because everything that we're getting rid of Hamas, of Hezbollah, of Assad, is total evil. And even Putin is now in trouble. Because Syria was his best friend. And who do you think planned this? Hashem. Syria was his ally. He can't even see anything anymore because Syria is not giving him access and feeding him all the information. So we see the toppling and we're watching it. And we've got a women's trip planned for January 19th. And I keep looking and thinking, you know what? We might be there with Mashiach. It's like this is going to be the first trip that we're going to take, learning about where we're going to go, how we're going to do this, because it is so imminent, so imminent. The day that we get there like the day before Trump comes to power. I didn't plan that. Let's see. We want to be in that space and we want to be able to say, where is this place that we're getting to? So if you ask me, the whole process is very, very, very scary, but very, very exciting. And when we think of it like that, and we face it and we say, okay, like, test me, don't test me. Yesterday morning, before a class that we had at lunchtime, my friend actually said to me, what, like, how do you deal with some of the things and people that people nudge you about? They come and nudge you about. Anyway, I have to tell you, for the next 2 hours, Hashem sent me about 10 of these people who constantly, and I was thinking to myself, like, why did you do that to me? It's like, and the good thing is that we can have that place of, but when we get to answer, our response is, how are you? Yes, of course. Let's see how we can work this out, right? Because that's who we need to become. And that's who we need to be. Do we always have to show everything? The American world and the world has told us, share your feelings. We can only share things that are appropriate and real, which have an effect on somebody else. And that's why our world is in such a turmoil, because people don't think about, how am I sensitive to? How can I speak to somebody? How do I treat somebody? What can I do? And how can I say something that actually becomes, sorry, it's just an annoying ankle. How can I say something, okay, which becomes, I'm still giving over the same message. I'm still saying the same thing, but it's how I say it. that's going to make the difference. It's what I say and how. And it's when. It's the appropriateness of learning to be able to say, let me think this through. Let me see how this works. And when I do that, that I can actually understand that this is something that I'm doing. It's not only for me refining my midas and learning how to do this, but it's also about the person who's there, who's able to be the receptacle jug and receive from a person who's working on themselves. So when a person shouts and blasts out and tells them what they really think and feel, it doesn't even go in. It's not even heard. Because when we know something's going to come in a negative way, we actually just block. So what are we doing? We're saying, actually, it's okay. I have to learn to understand why I feel like that and change that. But I also have to be able to learn how to give it back and give it over. So the outlook of the nations of the world, especially in our times, is the diametric opposite of what? Of meaning that a person can measure only when he already has, when it comes to understanding that every midah that a person has, okay, every measurement, every character trait that a person has is there because he needs to serve Hashem. It is already implanted within us. We have it. So they're the things that we use and bring out and develop. And then they're the things that we have to change. And we have to use it in a measurement. Otherwise, how would a person be expected to measure each midah, to look at each character trait and to see what is my capability? What's my mission of bringing the incredible capabilities and using my potential as a reality to apply to myself only, because each and every one of us, whatever we have, even if we're given the same positive and the same negative midas, we're given it in a different measurement, in a different size, right? So each thing is also the size and the measurement. Some people, we all know, are given a total extra dose of chill, of tranquilo, of relaxed, of too much of it becomes I don't care, right? Who cares? It's okay. Everything's going to be okay, okay? And yes, everything will be okay when we take those measurements and we put it into the correct measurement for making me do the things I need to. I called into the office because there was something. So one of my friends said to me, listen, I said to her, like, you know, when you ask somebody to do something and you put it something like on a poster, yeah. So there was a difference of understanding of how much we needed to put down for a deposit or payments or whatever. And she said to me, but that's how it works. Like, don't worry, don't feel bad. It's like all places. I said, no, it's not about that. It's more about, it's not about, like, why do we have to join a crowd of things that happen that are wrong? Like, we're not supposed to be doing that. We look at the things and we're supposed to learn from something and see how to do it better. So I was just like questioning, like, why is that done like that? Oh, because, and it makes total sense, 100% sense why they did it. But what do we need to do first? Just make a call, put in a call. Just by the way, I know you asked that to go on the flyer. Can we just, we're putting this because, okay? And then we can have the discussion about it. Those are the things which we all have and need, and we both want to get the same job done. We're both doing the same job. It's just coming from different perspectives. So we have to hear, why do they have to put and why do I? And then we have to say, how are we going to do this in a way that actually is good for all of us? Okay. And this is where we're going. So we see that the outside world in our times is diametric to the way we are supposed to be. We are not working on the same page. We don't, it just doesn't happen like that because we have different ways of looking at the world. Okay. In their view, okay, a person should behave only according to his nature, his upbringing, and the like. But the Torah's view is that each person has free will and ability to change himself. A person cannot absolve himself of saying, this is how I was created. What should I do? Excuses like this are not true to who we are. When we use it as an excuse, it is not true to who we are, okay? It takes time and patience. That's what we know. And it might be a lifelong, as we've said before, a full lifelong work, but we're working at it. So if we're working at it, it's something that can be. If we don't work at it at all, it's something that will never be because we're not even working to change it. Okay. So we've already discussed this, and we said last week, you said for a person who says that they can't speak in public, or a stingy person that cannot be generous, rather we have to look at each midah, and this is what we have to be able to share. And this is where we're going to go to from now. So when we look at the things that we're given, and we look at who we are and what amounts we're given in things, that would be the challenge of how easy or how difficult it is to get to change those things because of the measurement that Hashem has actually given us. Okay. And we quoted before, and it's something we're going to come home with, and we're going to say that Rav Yisrael Salanta said that it is harder to fix a single midah than to learn the entire shas. Okay. So when we look at all these different things, we're going to say to ourselves, we're going to look to see how much jealousy, how much stubbornness, how much anger, how much of these things is actually a part of it. Let's have a look at the positive side and also say, where's my giving structure? Where's my doing? All the things, how much besimcha am I? All these things have an appropriate place. You know, when we look at the chuppah, it's one of those incredible times that literally we're under the chuppah, a couple are getting married. This is intense, beautiful simcha. And before we finish that, our rabbis tell us, put your foot down on that glass, break the glass. Because why? Because we have to remind ourselves of the destroyed Yerushalayim, and each and every one of us have it in our hearts to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash. I have little Beis HaMikdash pictures in lots of different places now in my house. In the kitchen, in this front room, in the entrance hall, in the front, everywhere. Because we've got to remind ourselves, what are we working towards, right? We bash the glass, we don't have this Beis HaMikdash, and not a second goes by with a break into singing and mazel tov. That's incredible. We have an ability, and that's what we see. We have an ability as human beings to go from this depth of pain. I think the most beautifully way that I actually ever heard it really shared and felt was Rebbetzen Sarah Meisels, when she speaks about when her daughter was killed in a car accident. And her daughter's name was Alta Miriam Nechama, and from that came the whole Amen project. But the pain that they went through, and her husband, the Baba Rebbe of Eretz Yisrael, the Baba Rebbe of Bat Yam. And there she was. We imagine, what are they going to say? We say, Baruch Dayan Amet. Blessed is the one who judges with truth. We should believe it. So why the pain? Why the crying? Why the suffering if we know that Hashem has done whatever he's done in such truth, in judgment? And she said her and her husband sat and learned Torah throughout the night to find every pasuk and everything that would give them some feeling of some nachama, of comfort. So we accept. Does it make you happy? It's the pain. But we know that Hashem is doing it for something that is good. And to imagine to go through that, and we think to ourselves, so Huma, here's people that have been brought up and they live their whole life that everything Hashem does is for the good. And the pain is still there. But we can smash that glass and we can sing Mazel Tov, because when she got up from Shiva She got up from the shiva. And, well, they got up from shiva. And they had to fly to America to their son's wedding. And she says she knows that her sister made calls to people. Good morning, Shalamis. She knows that her sister made calls to people to say, just be sensitive with her. Be sensitive with her. Like, just look after her. Gone through. Shalamis, you're not muted. Shalamis. Shalamis. Dal, are you able to? I can't get on and do this on my computer.
I'm sorry.
Shalamis. Shalamis.
I just
Shalamis. And all of us together. Shalamis.
I'll try to take over,
Dal,
Joe.
can you do? I can't do it on my thing. There, she's gone. Okay. Okay. She's in Baka and jealous. Okay. There we go. Okay. So we'll find out what's going on in Baka. Are you with us, Shalamis? You're not. Oh, there we go. Great. Good morning in Baka. How wonderful. We love it. So here we have Rebbetzen Meisels.
I found
Yeah,
a friend,
yeah.
she's from Princess Park. I just met somebody from home, so we're sitting together. I'm sorry,
Okay.
I'm a bit late jumping on.
Okay. I'll just put you back on mute. So, what are we talking about? How does this happen? So here we have Rebbetzen Meisels and her husband sitting they're waiting for their son to come. And her sister, she says, has told people, don't say anything to her. Don't say anything. And you know what? She wanted to be treated normally. And she said, suddenly she realized this. And she was, no, I'm besimcha for this son. I'm totally besimcha for this son. That I am. I'm besimcha for this child. The pain that I've just lost my daughter is excruciating. But I'm still besimcha for the son. And that is where we are such awesome people that we have this, okay? We have this. So the Vilna Gaon tells us that people with challenging traits, right, and tendencies to do this, they need to review what he says. The reason a person is alive is so that he can come to correct a middah that he has not yet rectified. Therefore, a person has to constantly strengthen himself in this regard. And if he doesn't, what purpose is there to his life? And when we look at these things, Hashem comes and he tests. Can you imagine the test of getting from a shiva to a simcha to a chuppah of a child? I don't know. Nobody wants those tests. Nobody wants those tests. And yet they behaved with perfect regality of being connected. Why? She said, because I'm a bas Yisrael, I'm a bas melech. I'm a daughter of Hashem. And in order even not to cause other people embarrassment, doesn't matter what your pain is, you smile and you say, Mazel Tov. And that is humongous. It is so, so big. So he says to us, how does a person come to rectify his middas? It would seem that the middas are primary emotion of the heart. And the Orchos Tzaddikim tells us that the heart has many middas, such as arrogance, humility, memory, forgetfulness, and all these different things, okay? And conversely, if a person loses a large sum of money, his mind understands that this is unfortunate and sends negative messages to his heart, which makes him feel sad. And what does he say? While there may be times when a person needs to temporarily close off emotions, okay, again, going back to Rebbetzen Meisels, it's a temporary close of emotions. A person's general avoider, their general work is not to block or to suppress his emotions. On the contrary, it is very important that a person experiences emotion, rather that his avoider, his work that he has to do in this world is to gain control over one's emotions, is to gain control over his emotions, to be happy when joy is appropriate, and to be sad when sadness is appropriate. That is having control. And I think that when I first, and that's why this is something and a thing that comes out that we recognize when a person knows how to be besimcha at a simcha when it needs, and to be in a way that they need to be when you come to a shiva. That's how we are. And that's who we are. And we're told, you have an ability. You have an ability to do this. You have an ability to close and to choose the on and the off tab. We have an ability to do that. Sometimes we have to even behave in a way that we want to be feeling, even if we don't feel that way. But that is how we do. So how does a person gain control of his emotions? Through the king of the limbs, which is the intellect. It is through intellect. Returning to the example of the person who is upset because he lost money. The reason for the sadness is that his mind recognizes this is a negative occurrence. However, it had been clear to him that whatever Hashem does is for the good. Okay? He would not have been sad at all with this regard to every midah, okay, that he has to work on, adopting a proper mental attitude that will lead his heart to feel that he's able to correct his emotion. So if we think about something, right, something that takes us and says, like, it's easy to recognize sadness or feel something when something's physical that disappears from us, okay? Are we as sad and upset with ourselves when we say something in the wrong way or don't behave in the wrong way? What is that feeling that we do? We recognize intellectually that when I speak to somebody in a way that's not the way that I should be speaking, we recognize that intellectually. We know. And it should bring an emotion inside which says, I'm sad that I wasn't able to be in charge of my emotions, that I wasn't capable of controlling those emotions. That is the place that we see that the sadness is that I wasn't actually in control of my emotions. So that's what we have to learn through that intellect to understand what it is. So what does he say? He says the time to work on this, okay, is before the actual thing happens, during the time that your nisayon happens, your challenge, and you know what? After. Before a person encounters a challenge, a nisayon, he needs to recognize and establish in his mind the prohibition of what bad midas are. Yeah? When we understand what it means to have bad midas, then it means that we need to know before we come to a situation that we have to behave in a proper way. We're aware. We're aware of choice of good and bad behavior, okay, and appropriate behavior. So he says like this, for instance, if a person wishes to overcome anger, he should learn the statements of Chazal and of our rabbis and discuss the severity of the midah of anger, of ka'as, on. Listen to this. One who becomes angry is akin to one who serves idols. Now that's a bit harsh, okay? So on anger, many years ago, because it has to be more than 18 or 19, so I'll say around 20 years ago, when I was still working in the JLE, Rabbi Leib Kellerman, who was able to come to learn, to teach us, was giving a class to the staff of the JLE. It was all the staff and also everyone was invited. And the topic of that he was going to be speaking about was anger, something to do with anger. And I thought, gee, that's a bit of an interesting topic. You know, it's a bit of an interesting topic to discuss. I think surely he's the teacher and the one that comes, teaches everybody how to inspire people and the truth is, it's probably an outstanding thing that he did. And the memory of that class is something that it's something because it is so helpful in everything that we do. I'm just grabbing a drink. Okay, sorry, good morning, back with you. Okay, so Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol neh b'dvaro. Okay, so Rabbi Kellerman, he tells and he explains this whole thing of what is anger, what is chaos, what is anger. So he says, when a baby's born, it's connected to the umbilical cord. The umbilical cord is separated, Hashem, so to speak, blows into the umbilical cord, and we call that Nishmas Hashem. The breath of Hashem enters and activates your neshama. So the breath is from the same word, neshima is a breath, is the same word as neshama, right? So imagine this, each and every one of us have within us the breath of Hashem. That's what makes you holy. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? But makes us holy. That's who we are. I think that's just like, we just have to remind ourselves of that every single second of the day. You're holy. That's who we are. Sorry, my phone. We just have Hashem's breath in us because he's part of us. And if we're so holy, then that's how we're supposed to behave. But it's a learning process. So he explains, he says, the Kabbalistic sources teach us that when a person loses their temper, has a place of chaos, of anger, do you know what happens? It says if there is dirt, vomit that goes into that umbilical cord, that enters the person, right? So it's yuck, it's awful that goes into the person. Only when that person is in a state of anger. Now, nobody here would ever do such a thing, so you don't have to worry about it. But when a person is in a place of anger, and we would use a description to describe somebody that you see somebody flying off the handle, we say, he lost it. Oh my gosh, he's lost it. He's lost it. Look how he's behaving. Yeah? What did he lose? We say he lost control. But you know what he lost? He lost his connection to Hashem. He forgot for that moment that he forgot to be holy. So when he breathes,
Don't we all lose our temper to some degree in our lives?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not that we're not going to, it's how we're going to learn how not to. So what do we do? What do we do? Oh, Sarah, toda. What do we do? What do we do? Ken, toda. What do we do? Listen, we go. And I can tell you that from a very young age, I had one child that I used to teach. I say, come. I used to get upset with her when she behaved in a certain way. So for me, I would go, you better breathe in and count to 10. Yeah, you know that? And we count to 10 and when you do that, we recreate a space within us of, we reconnect ourselves. And when you breathe in and you take the neshima, and we take breathe in, and then we breathe out, and then we breathe out, we reconnect ourselves to Hashem. So we become holy again. And we say, we can't be angry. You can't lose it. But I just did. And then you know what we say to ourselves? What do we say? Oh my gosh, how did I do that? That wasn't me doing that. And you're right, it wasn't you. Because it was the disconnected you. It wasn't the connected you, and you're the connected. You're the one when you're breathing and aware and saying, Hashem, I want to be a better person. I never want to do that again. I don't want to be that person. So we breathe and we go. And when you find yourself doing that, you know that it's okay. Because why is you doing that? Because I'm aware, I'm intellectually aware that that's not the right behavior. And in order to help myself, we can do whatever we need to help ourselves. I tell young couples when they get married, if you think you're going to say the wrong thing, just go for a walk around the block. I'll see you in 10 minutes, honey. Bye. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Run, scream, shout, punch in the air, and come back and say, hi. Okay, can we just chat about that? Because I feel much calmer now. Okay. Now I recognize that there's a change that we can make when we talk about it and learn together. I recognize that I can fly off the handle. I recognize that it makes me upset. I need now to find out what pushes my buttons and makes me upset. So some things we can change, and some things we are not going to be able to change because it comes from an external place. So what do we change? Our thought process about it. It's not about me. That person's in pain. That person's having a challenge. It's not about me. It's about their challenge that they're going through. But I have to be able to see that. I have to be able to hear that. It's when somebody puts the box down in the wrong place when they've offered, when they're helping, but you ask them to help in a different way. Really? Really? Can you not do what I've asked you to do rather? They weren't thinking, they just thought they'd help in another way, right? Why do we react like that? Because that's about me. That becomes about you're not doing what I wanted you to do. And then we've got to be able to change the thought process. Does anybody know people who don't see things? Like there's a big box in the front hall. And it's amazing how like days can go by where they just walk past the box. And then finally you think to yourself, like, why are you just walking past the box? Like, why didn't you pick it up? Oh, I thought you left it there because you wanted it there, And, well, you should have just said. You should have just, honey, could you do me a favor? And I don't mean like next week. I mean like really, I'd so much appreciate it today if you could do it. And I don't even mean today. What I really am trying to say is, could you do that now for me? And it's universal. It's universal, right? So we all know the story. And when we play it on somebody else, you think, gosh, she's harsh. But when we play it on us, it's like, oh my goodness, it's like the toothpaste. All the stories are the same. It's the service, it's the lights on, it's the lights off, it's the cupboard open, it's leaving the lid not closed properly on the milk. It could be a million and one things, and it's always going to be something different. And you know why? Because we start thinking it's about me. I had a very good friend. She said her husband literally left every cupboard open. Wherever he walked into and looked for something in the cupboard at night, he would leave the cupboard door open. And he just does this to really just to annoy me. And I said, are you sure? Like, I don't think they're that sophisticated. I think there are other ways that he could annoy you. I said, just put a big sticker inside. I said, please close me. Please close me. And she actually called me back like about 2 weeks later. She says, it works. I said, what? She said, the cupboard. The note inside says, please close me. I said, okay, well, I'm very impressed that you did it. I was like shocked. I'm thinking, I've thought about doing that before. I didn't do it. She did it. And her cupboard stayed closed. But it's kind of a thing that we think often, when these things come from outside, like, why does that person do that to annoy me? Like, did they phone me then just because, there are some people that it happens to. I remember my friend telling me, like, she said, oh, this is how we're talking. She said, sometimes when girls will get married, mothers, like, phone, not really on purpose to check, but just, well, oh, her husband will be about home now. Let me quickly just see if she's okay. And they're not really thinking. And then the husband walks in, and the daughter's being a very good daughter, and she says, I'm really sorry, Mom, but I've got to go. You know, Yankel's just walked through the door. And there's that feeling, you know, sort of like, and it's a funny thing. So when our girls, our first ones got married, it was like, you know, they want to speak to you every day, but actually your 2-hour time difference isn't so easy. And when they were up and then getting kids dressed for school, and I just remember always laughing to myself and saying, I remember saying to them, the minute your husband walks in, just say, bye, Emma, speak to you later. And I actually even remember sometimes like thinking like, really? Of course, that's the right thing to do. Of course, you know that that's the thing that they should be doing. And you know it's the right thing. And you're so proud of them that they do the right thing. But at a certain level, it is still a little bit, you know, it is your mom. So we're really, really one of those funny people. But that's human nature. And that is the funny thing. Those are things that we're going to spend our lives working on. And that's, I always say, there's so many things in our lives that we sort of look at and we think like, it's just midas. You know, this morning, the amount of tests that I've had since I've woken up and just on actually personal midas, it's like, whew, like, why are you doing this to me this morning, Hashem? And then I'm thinking, actually, tell you a little secret. He does it all the time. I'm much more aware of it. When we become more aware of something, and when we become, it's like, okay, what do you want from me now? You know, okay, it's okay. It's okay. We're forgiving. We're giving. We're doing. We're letting go of. Why? Because we want everybody to be exposed and to have Rabbanit Mizrahi at whatever time. And yes, it'll be a little bit harder. Yes, this one can't drop that now. It's okay. Yes, this happened. They did it wrong with the payment. Yes, they haven't sent the confirmations. Yes, they haven't done. It's all okay. Because you know what? I wasn't able to do that. So it's all okay. Whatever anybody's managed, we've managed. Whoever comes tonight will come. I'm getting the funniest messages from people because the only number that there is for people to come back to on this is me. So I get these funny messages all the time. Do I really have time to answer every single person's message? Don't worry, just arrive. Yes, you can pay in cash. Yes, you can do that. No, you can't. Oh, this. And I'm saying, okay. And all it is Hashem just coming back and just saying, I am being tested. It's okay. And you know, the people, there's always got to be somebody who, you know, they feel that they've done more than whatever. So they were coming with one person to save a seat for, and they would like the front row seat. Then the sister phones, and then the sister-in-law phones, and then the sister-in-law called. So, and you should know something. I have to breathe and I have to say, and then I look and I have to say to myself, okay, it's okay. I've got a lot of gratitude for all different reasons for the grandmother. It's okay. It's okay. You know? And then we've got to make these things where we say, actually, we just look at it and say, all it is simply is Hashem is coming and saying, just how far can I stretch you? Leave it. It's not worth it because everybody's people and you might do the same thing. One day you also might want to sit in the front row when somebody comes, you know, and you'd also phone them and say, could you do me a favor? Could you reserve me a seat? And I'd probably say, is there some job that I can do that I can stand in the front? So we have to look and see that every single thing that comes is literally a place that is something that comes from Hashem. And we have to know that knowing this obligates a person to learn how to conquer our anger. And then he should contemplate the ideas that help him to eliminate this anger. And the Sefer HaChinuch comes and he tells us it's a halacha, and it's a law that's brought down by the Sefer HaChinuch. It is forbidden to take revenge because everything that happens to a person is from Hashem. And Hashem wanted him to experience that distress. All the better if the person himself comes up with an idea that can help him. But through learning our books on Musar, which teach us how to better ourselves, and contemplating the challenges before the challenge comes, a person can instill in his mind by extension in his heart, the proper attitude. Okay? And attitude is what it takes. It's who am I? Right? Who am I? I'm a piece of dust from the earth. Where have I come from? A tiny little putrid drop. Who created me? Hashem. Who brought me into this world and wanted me to be here for this amount of time? Hashem. What does he want me to become? The best person that I can be, without these negative things. And you know what? Where am I going? Where am I going? To the dust, back to the dust of the earth. That's all. So in my short time that I'm going to be in this world, what am I going to be remembered for? The person who flew off the handle, the one that everybody was like, maybe that. It's okay. It's only that they just, I know why it is. It's okay. Oh, her again. I told I told other people, I was like, one of the people in the office had asked me to do something. I said I was doing in one of the programs or whatever. I said, Shane, I feel a bit badly. Don't worry. You can ask me whatever you want. I'm okay. Like I can, so I could see like he was like, and I said, like I do sometimes think, like, what do you think? Like, what are we going to do with her? I said, just let her bring a lot of simcha, a lot of learning, and a lot of world things to the Jewish world, to Jewish women. That's all. Just help her to, and that will keep her calm. By doing things, she's happy. She's happy doing her challah makes with Dahlia and making sure that we bring bracha into the world. She's fine just going to spend some time in Manchester on a train and being with Jewish women who are concerned about their own personal growth. She loves that. Just let's help to do that. Don't, it's such a funny thing. When we're in a place and so, oh, here she comes. Okay. So if I'm reminded for that, it's fine. As long as that's what it becomes. Okay. We don't want to be that person who became that ogre, that Henry Higgins and all these different people that, we're petrified. It's not. Okay. We've got to look and see what can we do? How can we do this? How can we bring ourselves to a place of it's okay. I'm okay with that. Why? Because we don't need to have the covet and the honor and the glory. That's not what it's about. The covet and the honor and the glory are the places that are for whoever they want them to be. But what do we need to do? I'm okay to carry the bowls. I'm okay to get there early. I'm even okay to pick up the rubbish and to take the bins out. It's okay. You know what? While I've got the energy and the koyach that I can do it, I'll do it. It's okay. Why? Because that in-between side, that in-between things of the things and what people will gain is much more important, okay? There was a time where we didn't do pre-booking, actually. But you knew that people, now we do pre-booking, and people say, wow, so many people have pre-booked. And I'm thinking, it's an interesting thing. The reason we pre-book is that we can be prepared. We want to be prepared for everybody that's coming. And all the people that come after, and I'm like, listen, we just wanted to be prepared. Well, there aren't enough chairs, and I hope there won't be enough chairs. But it doesn't matter, because the idea of it is that we can all do this to the best of our things, and it becomes an attitude, okay? Our life and our world becomes, what does Hashem want from me through this experience that he has given me? And that's why it says that when a person is embarrassed publicly, they can ask Hashem for anything, as long as they don't answer back and they keep quiet. That's all. All we have to do is close our mouths, zip it up, go around the corner. The one thing that I love that, oh my gosh, Edith Eger in her book, The Gift, she says, not in the show The Gift, she says, you know what, go stand by the sea, go into a big field and scream it out. Scream out the pain, scream out the anger, scream it out. Just get rid of it. Let it go, let it out. Don't keep it inside. It's not good. But you don't have to have anybody else hear it. It's, and I don't know what she wanted to say, but I want to say that it's me and Hashem. Let Hashem hear my pain. Let him hear our screams. Let him hear that. He doesn't want you to let somebody else take that in as a person, to be like what do you call it? Like take all the anger out like a punching bag. He doesn't want that. He wants a real punching bag to have that. And those are the things. Let it out there. Okay. We're not supposed to carry it. We're supposed to get rid of it. And then we're supposed to say, how do I prepare myself for the next time? How do I prepare myself for the next time? So when the next Nisayon, that next challenge comes, I'm prepared. And you know what he does? It's a funny thing. He tests us again. Have you learned? And you will know when you've learned. And it could take years. And I give this example that literally was 10 years ago, because our Nathaniel, who's going to be 11 now, was a year when he had his heart surgery. And after his heart surgery, a month later, he had a stroke. And you think that you've never heard of baby stroke before, but once you tell people about it, suddenly other people have had children stroke and baby stroke. And I can't say that it wasn't a challenging time, but I had one of my grandchildren staying here, and I promised that I would take her Friday morning to party time Shabbat. And I didn't even notice. Now, I was talking to somebody, and everybody will know what kind of a person you are when you drive a car. Are you the person that fills up your car when the car's a quarter empty, or you wait until the red light? Okay, so if you wait until the red light like me, you know how many times you can get back to Edgware and back on your red light. And then you know which garage you can stop in to put £10 before you fill up at Tesco's. And if I'm thinking, which hasn't been very regular, that I'm going to Costco that week, then I'll wait until I go to Costco also to fill up at Costco. And how much do you save? Well, definitely not what you spend. Okay. So it's okay. But at least you save the extra £5 at Costco petrol, so you've spent whatever more. Anyway, I get into the car. I used to make sushi for Seed every Friday, 12 rolls of sushi, take it there for the kiddush. That's a long time ago. And my granddaughter was desperate to go to party time Shabbat. She's bat mitzvah, so she was like going to be 3 or something. It was just like, honestly. And and she wants to go, and just everything was taking longer on the phone. And Friday morning, and I get into the car, put the sushi in the car, and I get to the corner of our road, which turns onto Golders Green Road, 10 a.m. Friday morning, and the car's chugging. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with the car? I hadn't even noticed. It was so busy that week, I hadn't noticed even the red light come on. And in front of, if anybody knows where Accessory World is, there's one parking bay, 10 o'clock Friday morning. What's the chance of that parking bay being empty? Not much. Hashem had that parking bay waiting for me. I got the car, chugged the car into that parking bay. I called my husband, and I'd also, what's the chance of him answering? And because he was learning with somebody, with Rabbi Hager at Hager's. And we swapped cars in between the time that I got to Seed and back. We got to the bubbles of party time Shabbat for my granddaughter, and that's all she wanted was bubbles and the bag. And when I got back home and the car had petrol in, because my husband and son put petrol in the car, and it was back on the drive, and I was just in there, and we had 2 cars. I had his car to drive. And I just sat there and I said, oh, do you know what? It feels amazing. It feels amazing. What felt amazing? That there wasn't a space that I lost it. There wasn't a space that I felt like I just said, okay, these are what we need to do. This is how we need to go. And that's what it is. And as we get to each place and each stage in understanding that we have the ability to do it. And I look at some people, and I have here sitting here in front of me, Rebbetzen Kanievsky's huge smile. And I always think to myself, imagine if you could live every day like her, because that's how she lived. Because her midas, her measure of what was important and what wasn't, and her measure of saying, I'm one of Hashem's children, and therefore I have to behave holy. I'm one of Hashem's children, and therefore when I do lose it, my intellect says to me, breathe. Breathe in, reconnect yourself to Hashem, remind yourself of how you have to behave, breathe out, and we can say, whoa, I'm sorry, that actually wasn't me. It really wasn't, because I'm the connected me. I'm the person who is wanting to be the best that I can be. So I'm really sorry for that moment. It wasn't me. And I hope never to be that person again. And that's the truth. Because we don't want to feel the way we feel when we're in that space, right? We want to feel that we're the person who can be besimcha and kind and warm and say, it's okay. Even if inside I'm feeling, oh, you're annoying me, you know? When you watch somebody put down their coffee and they spill it on your tablecloth, and like, honestly, I even have plastic on my tablecloth for Shabbos. Ugh, okay, awful, terrible, but it helps me and I clean up easily and quickly. It helps. And you know what's funny? Somebody always manages to dirty the cloth and chocolate and this. And you know what? It's okay, because you'll put it in the washing machine. I don't have to wash it by hand. It's okay. Thank you, Hashem, that the rest of it was easy, and just help me not to even think when I look who's making that mess. Okay? It's okay. Even if your grandchildren are full of chocolate all over, and you know they're going to touch the bottom of the tablecloth that's not covered. It's okay. And those are the things that become. So, Metz Hashem, we will continue next week, working on our space, making our world. Change your world, okay? That's all we told. That's all he says in our beautiful book, is it's not about anybody else's world. And that's important. Whoop. It's about my world, okay? It's about my world. So I'm working now on not getting upset when my Zoom doesn't come on, because I should put it on at 9:30, not at 10, at 5 to 10. Yeah, Claire, what did you want to say?
I know it's not maybe the right place, but could I ask, somebody is desperately looking for a cleaner for their mother. Do you know where I could find?
What area does she live in?
That's a very good question. It must be, I'm not sure if it's Hampstead.
Okay, check for me where she lives, and I'll put it on one of my groups, and then I can send you information.
Thank you so much.
The right place.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you again.
Pleasure.
Oh, the other thing, very quickly, is I'm just conscious that I should be paying for every time for each week for this.
What you can just put in a donation.
Okay.
I'll tell you how. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Pleasure. Lots of love. See you soon. Okay. Lovely to have you with us, Manchester. Dals, Deborah's gone, and I hope you ladies enjoy. If you're coming back tonight, I hope you enjoy. And Dals, I'll speak to you soon. Okay. Lots of love. Have a good day.